Alright.
Alright, good evening everybody. My name's Chris, you all know me. For those of you watching, you know me as well. 2 more weeks, and we're done with this. Without further ado, I'm going to give you an informative speech on a topic called water bears. So here we go. Did you know there were bears that could survive in Antarctica, tropical forests, the desert, the ocean? Seems feasible to somebody, I'm sure. What about space? Has anybody heard about a bear that can live in space? What about a bear that hibernates for 120 years and then awakes one day as if no time has passed? That is what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. So I'm sure you've already guessed, the bear I speak of is not a bear per se. It just shares a resemblance, enough so that the discoverer of the creature named it after the creature he thought it resembled, the bear. Today I'm going to give you a general introduction to these creatures. I will describe some basics about them, such as eating habits, habitats, and most important, the biological adaptation that allows them to live in extreme environments such as the Antarctica or the deserts. It allows them to inhabit some of the most desolate, hostile, and otherwise uninhabited locations on Earth. Water bears, also known as tardigrades, were discovered by a German pastor who published his discovery in a book in 1773. He named them after bears for the gait they have when they move. Their scientific name, tardigrade, means walk slowly. They're small creatures, on average about 1 millimeter in length, and their bodies resemble that of a caterpillar, only much, much smaller. They have 8 legs and a buccal-pharyngeal feeding mechanism, or a tube, which they use as a mouth. They're omnivores. They eat meat and vegetables, though they suck juices from both for sustenance. They eat leaves, moss, lichen, and mostly each other. Tardigrades' buccal-pharyngeal mechanisms are their mouths, and the 4 to 8 claws they have on each limb are used to identify which species they're from. Over 900 species have been identified. Tardigrades live everywhere on the planet. They have been found in deserts, Antarctica, in hot springs, and on top of the Himalayan mountains. Even the ocean. Over 150 species have been identified living in the world's oceans. The key to finding them, regardless of which environment they are living in, is to find a source of water. This is because one of the very few things that they need in order to survive is water. They have a thin film of it around their body at all times, and it allows them and it regulates some of the chemical biological functions that they need to exist. Without water, they won't thrive. But unlike every other species on Earth, they won't cease to exist either. They will survive. Tardigrades have developed a sophisticated biological adaptation in order to survive. They are capable of cryptobiosis. Cryptobiosis is a biological mechanism utilized by the tardigrades to slow their metabolism to 1/100th of its normal state. It also allows them to survive with as little as 1% body water content. Let's compare that 1% to the human body. A loss of 20% of your blood can cause the body to go into hypovolemic shock. Systemic vasoconstriction, the vessels that carry the blood in your arms and legs, they constrict, allowing the blood to be delivered to your body where all your organs are, keeping them perfused, giving them that freshly oxygenated blood that they need to continue to operate. Again, tardigrades can survive with only 1% body water content. It's pretty impressive, is it not? Fairly survivalistic. Cryptobiosis, the process with which they do this, actually describes 3 different processes that allows them to survive in these different extremes. 3 are anhydrosis, cryobiosis, and osmobiosis. Anhydrosis describes that complete loss of body water that I just told you about, that illusion I made to the 1% body water content they can survive with. Cryobiosis, another process, is caused by a sudden reduction in temperature, and it actually involves an intentional freezing of cells. The water within the cells is frozen, allowing the creature to survive. That process, cryobiosis, is also used for sperm and blood storage by humans. The last of the 3, osmobiosis, is caused by a reduction of water content due to the increased solute concentration. So in other words, when the tides come in and they hit the beach, that water that before was clear is now murky and filled with sediment, minerals, and salt. That's the solute concentration I'm speaking of. Now all 3 processes, what they do is they cause the tardigrades to go into a period of latency, more or less hibernation, if you will. And they will stay in this hibernation until their bodies determine that the conditions are livable, if you will. In other words, depending on what state they are, the solute concentrate balances out and then come back to being active, or the temperature is lower enough that they can be active, or there's enough water in the environment that they can survive. So with all these tools in their toolbox, it's no wonder the tardigrades exist everywhere on Earth. But not just Earth, they may be able to survive outside our planet as well. The European Space Agency took a collection of tardigrades to space on the spacecraft Photon M3 in 2007. 10 days outside the space shuttle, the tardigrades survived not only the vacuum of space, but the exposure to the deadly levels of solar UV radiation as well. Upon return to Earth, the tardigrades that were exposed procreated and gave birth to normal, healthy tardigrades, which completely baffled the scientific community. They still don't know how that happened. Through space, snow, desert, drylands, and oceans, these creatures survive extreme heat and cold. They truly are nature's